Okay, we're here this evening at the end of a Massillon City Council meeting with Republican mayor candidate for the city of Massillon, Lee Brunckhart.
Correct.
And Mr. Brunckhart is going to let us know where he is in his campaign to be the new mayor of Massillon come January of 2012.
What I'd like to start with is I'm actually having my birthday mayoral fundraiser, which will be August 11th, up at Community Park on Finney Frock Road, and that will be from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. I've invited the entire city. You can follow or gain any additional information off Massillon Cable Channel 10. And again, everyone is welcome. There is a $20 fee, and
is there a phone number that interested parties can call?
That'd be 330-833-0097.
And so have you started hooping it through the streets of Massillon?
Actually, we have. We've, if you look where just about anywhere there's a public bulletin board, there should be a flyer. And we've sent out almost 400 paper invitations, and I've sent out over 500 Facebook invitations.
Okay. So you expect a big crowd?
I do.
Okay. Some of the crowd going to be the current mayor of Massillon, maybe Mayor Ciccinelli.
I did personally invite the mayor and his wife, and also President of the Council, Mr. Gamber. And the other thing I'd like to say is we are going to have a company called Celebration in Sound, who will be not only doing our DJ but helping out with games and such. So children are welcome. Anyone 12 and under is free of charge.
Okay. And so what's the campaign strategy going to be? Or what is it?
Well, it has had to change a little bit because obviously the opponent has changed now.
You didn't anticipate that?
Yes and no. I said at the very beginning that I wanted to give the voice back to the citizens of Massillon. And I said, you know, if you would give them the choice, that they would let their voice be heard. And they did. And I have to admit, you know, the mayor for 24 years of my life has been the mayor. And it was surprising that evening to see the tally come in. So I do have to say it you know, was a small surprise.
How's it change your strategy?
Having your tactic after the mayor, now you have to reposition yourself for the council.
And he had a record to defend. Catazero Perry does on council, but it's a little different thing when you're running for mayor. Is that the difference?
Well, you're right, it is different, but I actually think it's more important because she has sat on council for 8 years, and it is council who votes. You know, we talk about it being the mayor's policy, or the mayor's budget, but it is actually council who votes on policy and council who votes on the budget. And, you know, part of my strategy now is we are where we are in a position where we, the Massillonians, are not happy. That's kind of why you saw the voting go the way it did. But we are where we are in part because of her vote. And she will have to defend that record in the debate.
Is that on the budget specifically that you're pointing to, or is it other votes?
Well, if you just take the budget aside, and I have all the budgets that she's voted on, and she's passed all these budgets. So nowhere along the line, as she did this evening, where now she's coming out and saying, you know, we do not have the funds to purchase these things. Now we must stop spending. Now she's running for mayor. When the truth of the issue is, in reference to the 2 police cruisers, the mayor is charged for the safety of the city. I would actually support the purchase of the 2 cruisers. Our fleet is aging.
The financial problems notwithstanding.
Well, I understand that, but we, as mayor, are charged with the safety of our citizens of the city. And that is the last thing that should be cut. If we want to talk about cuts, we can start talking about cuts. But as I've told my safety forces that I've spoke with, they will be the last people that I would cut.
So the vote on the income tax increase, 0.2%.
Well, what I thought was interesting about that was that Mr. Manson, the mayor, has voiced his opinion, not about the raising of the income tax, but that there are citizens that reside here, such as myself. I work in Canton. My 1.8% goes to Canton, okay? So here I am, a citizen. I live within the city, and in a sense, you demand police service, fire service, street service, plowing, trash service, okay? Yet, we who don't live here, or don't work here, we do not contribute to that tax necessarily, okay? Yet, and he said that he did not agree with the mayor, but yet in his very own plan that he's submitting for the 2% increase.
Manson, Councilman Manson,
yes,
right?
Councilman Manson. Everyone would have to pay. No one would be exempt.
Okay. How much, Manson said that increasing the tax 0.2% would bring in about $2 million a year.
But I just thought it was very interesting, though he rejects the mayor's proposal. It's exactly what he put in his proposal.
Mm-hmm. Do you think there should have been at least a second on the motion to raise the income tax?
I have no problem, not that I support it. Let me say that.
You don't support the increase?
I do not support it because the wrong tax at the wrong time. Tactic, why I disapprove it, okay? First of all, they want to make it a permanent tax.
Okay.
If it's just to pay off debt, okay, then make it a temporary tax. But it's not. They're going to pass it as a permanent tax. That's what they want, okay? And here we go, tax and spend, instead of living within our means.
So as a Republican, you say, well, that's typical Democrat, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, here we go, tax and spend. That's
so you're going to be, as mayor of Massillon, if you're elected, you're going to be a person that's not interested in looking to increase revenue except through producing jobs.
Well, we need, yes, better jobs with better pay, better revenue.
But as far as raising taxes, that's not going to be your approach. Your approach is going to be to look for ways to cut spending.
Absolutely, cut first.
Right.
What I have said is, if it comes to the point that you would have to tax a citizen, okay, it would first be the last resort. Second of all, allow the people their voice. I have no problem with them passing a budget, or excuse me, an amendment to allow the people to vote. I am all in favor of that.
Okay.
You know, let the people go to the polls, let them vote. If you're going to take money out of their pocket, they should have a voice in that. I have absolutely no problem with that. But again, it would be a last resort, and in this episode, or as this example is, if I would have to go to the people for a tax, I would go as a temporary tax to specifically pay off bills. My first key, my slogan is, Lee is the key. I have 4 keys. My first key is government transparency. So I would say, here is my list. This is exactly what we're going to do with your money, so that the citizens then, if they would grant you, you know, the ability to have an extra form of revenue, that they would be able to have a check and balance. Are we paying this bill off? Are we paying that bill off? And it's check and balance.
Right.
You're answering to the people.
Right. Now, what do you think of Mayor Ciccinelli's way of budgeting? You know, where he doesn't include everything that's going to have to be paid across the whole budgeting year.
Well,
is that something Mayor Brunckhart would be doing?
Even though I'm opposed to pushing the bills from year to year, okay? So I am opposed to, you know, his budgeting is always, it's going to be there. It's
right.
going to be there.
Yeah. Do you approve of that?
I don't, because it's always been there, because we've gotten lucky a few times, such as when the I can't remember what it's called, the abandoned building down the state hospital burned down. Gave us several hundreds of thousands of dollars, which came right in when we needed
I see.
it. Okay, we get very, very lucky in Massillon, and maybe he thinks the luck is going to keep running. I think we're running out of it.
Okay. Okay. Now, my perspective on you, being a Republican, is you're an unusual Republican running for mayor in that you're a working class person, drive a bus for SARTA, and you should have some appeal in a democratic city to Democratic voters, even though you carry the Republican label. You have a response to that?
Well, this is amazing because I don't know how many times I have heard this, but amazing if you were to go and get my petition from the Board of Elections and you would see who signed my petition. They are just average, common people. You know, I think people think Republican, we think big business, big money, you know, all for corporate. And Republicans are not necessarily Republicans for big business and big money. You know, we have moral issues and ethic issues.
Have you always been a Republican?
Well, I have to admit, I was raised originally in a Democratic, blue dog Democratic family.
Okay. And
my issue is that there are no more blue dog Democrats. And I think it gives me a good insight because I can see both sides. And I think that's good being in Massillon because we are a heavy blue-collar community. And
I mean, you will have to pull a lot of Democratic votes to win, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So is Mayor Ciccinelli going to be a big help in that regard? Maybe bring along people from the vote for him voting for Lee Brunckhart?
Well, that you will have to ask him.
Are you going to be able to match up with Catazero Perry in fundraising?
Considering that she's owns her own business, she's a nurse by trade. Her husband's a doctor. And, you know, she has 8 years in the political realm.
And has a powerful Democrat like Johnny A. Meyer Jr. right behind, squarely behind
exactly. her. So, no. But, you know, I took on Andrew Ozer, who comes from a very, very wealthy family. And the very first thing people told me was, you've got to be out of your mind. He can outspend you. And I said, that's true. He can outspend me, but he can't outknock me.